Welcome to the 63rd podcast of the Pickleball Crew. Tonight, Jeff's going to kick us off with some discussions on the third shot.
All right, for this week, y'all, we started talking about third shots and different strategies that you may or may not have. For those of you out there that don't have a third shot strategy, you should. And then for those of you that do, you might should have a plan, B plan, maybe even a C plan on a third shot strategy. It's a very important shot. Especially when we're the serving team, we know that we're at a disadvantage. So you need to know what you're going to do with your third shot. So that'll kind of get us into the conversation. Do any of y'all have any comments on third shot strategy?
Well, I just want to mention something that I told my crew the other day that I came across, and that was a coach who was talking about how we, when we talk about the third shot, we've been talking so much about third shot drop versus third shot drive and fifth shot drop. But he wanted to make the point that you should not leave alone the thought of third shot drop, fifth shot drop. So that way, if you're not making your way all the way to that no volley line, remember that when you're in that transition zone or you're getting close to it's got to be a drop again. So it's something for everybody to put into their minds, and just like you said, the A, B, and C strategy, that's a great way to look at it too, is if A is the drop and B is a drive drop, then look at C as a drop. I thought that was really good information, and like I say, I shared that with the group and thought it was really helpful.
Yeah, and in seeing that, Vicki, it resonates with me. I think people need to have an urgency to realize that the third shot, you're hitting, say, a third shot drive to score points, a third shot drop to get yourself to the net. But the main thing there is trying to get you and your teammate to the net. This goes back to some of the points that Bernard made a couple of weeks ago. The first what would the word be? The first thing that you're trying to accomplish that should be in your head when you're hitting a third shot is, we're trying to get to the net. How can we get ourselves to the net? If your strategy is not to try to get your team to the net, then to me, you're not really on point with what you're trying to do to win pickleball games, in my opinion.
That's right.
And I think any high level pros on down to high level players, I think you ask any of them that, and I think that'll be their answer. They know the ones that we see losing at high level is usually the team that's struggling to get to the net. And the announcers will say it. They'll say they just cannot get themselves up to the net to get on that level playing field.
We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pickleball Crew. We are a group of pickleball fanatics based in Southeast Louisiana and are passionate about all things pickleball everywhere. Our focus is to inform, acknowledge those who help build the game regionally, and promote tournaments in our area. We do our best to present this with a love of the sport, a sense of humor, and a lot of fun. So join Vicki Wynn, Ken Wynn, Jeff Fuchsia, and me, Bud Klein, in our latest episode. We are glad you are along for the ride. Well, from my experience and the way I'm trying to evolve to do it is, my third shot is dependent on a number of variables. The first one for me is the serve at me, or the return at me. Is the return deep and lofty, so the other guy's got time to get to the net, or is it coming at me hard and fast, and I can't really make an effective drop shot? So my third shot may sometimes have to be a drive, just so I can stay in the point and work myself into the transition zone. And then hopefully, I can get a shot coming back at me that I can drop into the no volley zone. That's my strategy. I pretty much stick with a third shot drive and a fifth shot drop. And sometimes throw in a lob just to keep people thinking over the person at the net's head.
That's a really good point, Bud. And a couple years ago, this may not be true, but I think now with the stronger returns, the spins that people can put on returns, I think it's smart to lean more towards a third shot drive on a deep return to you or with somebody spinning the ball. That way you can kind of neutralize. Y'all think about it. A deep return or even a medium to deep return with spin, that's hard to hit a drop shot from that far back into the court.
Yep.
So your drive that you're talking about can actually try to neutralize that somewhat, and then hopefully you get a block back into the transition zone where you can lift that ball into the kitchen on your fifth to get on up to the net. Couple things have to happen there if you're going to make that happen consistently. You cannot be stepping into the court on your third at all. Your partner can't be stepping into the court on the third at all. Because if so, then you're going to be trying to drive a ball off of your back foot, and you just don't have enough balance there to control that shot consistently. And that's been one of my number one things that I've been trying to focus on in my game in the last couple of months is staying back and talking with people about staying back. It's a mistake that I see happen very often. Sometimes it's me, which is really aggravating, but you just see it a lot on the court.
Yeah, you do. Well, I know that, I didn't mention plan D, and that's the drip. But one of the things that made me think about that was when Bud said, if it comes back deep but comes back lofty, a lot of times if you're just a real good, got enough time, you can let the ball drop, you put enough top spin on it, you can drop it into the kitchen area pretty nicely and even a little harder and do that drip. And so that's one strategy that I like to throw out there now and then too. But again, it depends on how that ball is coming to you. And another thing I was just going to mention is it took me a long time to realize and that your third shot, we focused on it so much for so long. And it was the third shot. You got to get the third shot. You got to get it. You got it. And it turns out it doesn't have to be perfect to work. And realizing that was a big thing for me.
Vicki, the first thing you said, I think, is something that people, if you're paying attention to where the game is going, you can put a beautiful, nice, lofty drop shot from back there into the kitchen, and it bounces up just a little bit, and then they attack the heck out of it. That used to not, it wasn't like that 5 years ago. That it would get attacked some. But now, again, with the paddle technology, people need to work on that drip and have a more aggressive third that you feel comfortable hitting. I think it's just something that if you're going to keep up with what's going on with the game, I think you're going to get left behind. I started feeling myself get left behind because I would work on drop shots here on my court, and just feel like I had them dialed in, and then go out to open play and they were just getting torn up. So I realized I'm like, I got to get a more aggressive shot here and start driving the ball some. Just to kind of backstep a little bit too, talking about your partner needs to stay back when you're driving the ball on the third. There is one exception for that, and that's when and if you decide to go with shake and bake. Then your partner doesn't have to stay back. You might get burned on it, but you also might have success on it a couple of times, and it really pressures the other team up, especially if you've had success with it a few times in a row. So other than that, I would suggest staying back. But we've all played with people that run the shake and bake on us, and they have success with it a couple times, and you're really, you're feeling that other person come to the net behind that drive.
Well, I think that, that depends on how the person is returning your serve. If they're not giving you a strong return and they're kind of just lofting it over the net back at you, I would definitely tell my partner, let's serve and get to, make that third shot and then rush into the net and see if we can do a shake and bake.
And that kind of brings us, Bud, to the next point that I wanted to make. I wanted to talk some about when we're serving and we get those short returns. Okay. I see a lot of people, and I think some people think this, and of course, again, if it's in your skill set to do something different, by all means do it. But I'm just looking at kind of in general, most people. If you get a short return where the ball is up and it's a fairly high bounce, I think you need to drive that short return. But a lot of times we get a short return, the other team's at the net, and that ball is low, and people try to drive that ball from a low position. I see it all the time, and when I watch it, most of the time that ends up not going well for the person that's hitting that, trying to drive that third, that short return. It usually ends up in the net or out of bounds. Or a lot of times, if they do get a good drive on it, if the people at the net will just hold their ground, it's coming right up shoulder height. There's no way they can drive that ball from transition zone and it not be coming in an upward motion. So I think, and people can check this out, try it, or find a pro and ask them what they do with that ball. Most of your pros, they're going to take that ball, put it in the kitchen, and they're going to thank the other team for giving them an easy invite to get to the kitchen. I'm not sure what y'all's thoughts are on that, but that's kind of what I've been seeing.
One thing that I've seen watching a lot of these recent tournaments at the pro level is I'm actually seeing the returning partner of a third shot. They're obviously back to return that third shot, but at the pro level, their partner automatically is moving up to that no volley zone. Now, at that level, they're probably better at digging out a ball or resetting a ball, but I'm seeing. I thought I would see them both stay back for that third shot to make sure it's landing in the no volley zone, but their partner is moving up to the no volley zone, and at that level, even if the third shot is high, it's going back to the player that's back for them to hit a fifth shot drop or a seventh shot drop as they work their way up to where their partner is. So I'm seeing more of a staggered approach for the serving team on a third shot than I thought I would see at the pro level.
Well, to me, at the pro level, you do see that, Ken. You'll see that off player that's not hitting the ball take off, but I think it's been established. Let's say I'm going to use, all right, me and Ken are playing together, and, we're playing in a tournament together, or we're playing rec play together, and we serve that medium, in the transition, short return comes back. If I don't know what you're going to do with that low ball, then I better stay back. But if it's been predetermined and me and you, it's our strategy. We've talked and we've said, hey, on those low short returns, let's both of us take and put them in the kitchen. Well, then I'm gonna have the confidence. If I'm not hitting the ball, you are. I'm gonna have the confidence to get on up because that's a much easier drop from transition zone.
Well,
That short return that's in the transition zone, and I'm talking, around our level, 4-0 level. If you're a 4-0 player, you're going to be able to take that ball and put it in the kitchen safely, probably 9 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 for sure. But if I'm not
I
sure,
wasn't talking about the short return. I'm talking about the deep return. The deep return and the non-returning player is automatically moving up to that no volley zone. Not. I wasn't talking about a short return.
oh well, yeah, at that level, Ken, they're so good at getting the ball in the kitchen. They may get a high return every once in a while, but I mean, most of the time they can. But I don't think we can do that at our level. I don't think we're consistent enough.
Not
I
consistent. Yeah.
I think anytime we're both back on the baseline, drive or drop, we got to step in just one step and see what our partner's third looks like. If it's high, if you're one step in the court, you can just step back out of the baseline off the back end and get ready to defend. If it's pretty decent, you can head in. If you're not sure, then you might head in or just kind of hold your ground where you're at. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the short return again.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Sorry, I wasn't clear.
Yeah, and there is a strategy that they're using. I can't remember what the name of it. I remember seeing where the player who is returning um, almost steps up into the court to make it seem like they're going to get caught, but they immediately come back. And so it's like a signal to send the ball that way, and then it's the partner's signal to just head straight on up to the net. And something like staggering or something, but it's an interesting strategy. I haven't quite gotten the grasp of it yet, but it is something that they're using at the pro level too. So I think there may be a little bit more going on there than we can handle and we're and we're knowing, but it's a little bit like what he's talking about there.
Another strategy or secondary strategy that I'll use, if I've got a really good higher level player playing beside me, I feel I can drive or drop either way. If I'm at rec play and I've got a weaker player with me that may not, if I drive the ball, they can punch it back hard towards me or her or him, then a lot of times in that situation, I feel like I need to go with more drops to just get the ball over to the other team, kind of see what they're going to give us back, where that person beside me may not be having to deal with a bam bam situation, kind of the banger thing. And I find I have more success with a lower level player playing beside me than me just saying, all right, I'm going to drive or drop, do one or the other. I'll lean towards more drops. And for me, that seems to help me have more success. Not that it matters, but more success winning rec games with a weaker player beside.
There's no doubt that third shot drop just, it just works. It, depending on where you place it too, it's even better if you're good enough to put it at somebody's backhand, consistently, and that's on both sides. It works. It's a good thing to do, and I don't think we need to totally get away from that. That's for sure.
Well, whether it's a drop or a drive, the number one momentum killer is hitting it into the net. So you've got to make sure either shot is, above the net tape, because that's, you can't get a point without getting it over the net.
Another good strategy, I think, on the third shot is if you're going to drive the ball, drive the middle most of the time. Either middle or at one hip or the other at the person straight in front of you. see some people sometimes, all of us are guilty of it. We'll try to drive that line sometimes. You see that opening, and that can be a good thing to do, I think, every once in a while, but you're bringing that sideline into play. So I think it's a good third shot strategy to drive the ball in the center of the court. There's so many good things that can happen there. You can hit the ball in between the two. There can be some confusion there. The net's lower in the middle. Your drive has a much better chance of getting over the net over, a couple hundred shots because the net's higher on the ends. It also takes away some angles. You try to drive a line, and you drive into somebody's forehand, they got that good cross court angle that's hard to defend against. When you're driving the middle of the court, it kind of takes those two side angles, kind of makes it tough for them to go. They can try to go there, but there's a good chance they'll hit that ball out. More than likely, they're going to reach in, they're going to block that ball back in the transition zone, and there's a lot of times your easy ball to put back in the kitchen on a fifth shot after that drive.
I
So
agree.
I think that's a really good strategy to have as a team on a third shot.
Well, that's why it's so very important that you be able to evaluate your opposition. For example, today I played a couple of mixed doubles with this guy that when his partner was returning serve, his first move every time was to the middle of the court. Every time. So I just started hitting down the line on him. And I told my partner, start hitting behind him down the line. And it worked several times. And finally the guy quit moving to the middle, and then we could return it to the middle. But if you got somebody that likes to plant themselves in the middle of the court, I say take the sideline every time. Unless they're fast and they can get it back.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Bud, especially in a mixed situation where a guy is trying to establish himself in the middle of the court.
That's exactly what he was doing.
Yeah. And at first when you said that, I'm thinking, man, this guy's just out of position. But no, if he felt like, he needed to be that dominant player in the middle, then yeah, I would try to hit behind him some and hopefully you have some success and establish, hey, dude, if you don't get back over, we're going to get you down that line and get him back. If not, you're letting that guy kind of dictate to you, hey, was he playing with a weaker player, Bud?
I think he perceived the player as weaker, but she could return. She could make a return of serve. I mean, it wasn't, to me, he was just trying to be domineering.
Yeah. And that's fair. Maybe he perceived himself needing to cover for her.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jeff, I didn't have to hit the ball hard.
Right.
I mean, I just a 80% drive down the sideline had him several times.
Well, and the thing is, even playing against a guy that is better than his female player, if you keep letting him come down and control the middle of that court, then he's dictating to you. So it is a good thing to hit in behind that person and let them take note. Hey, if you're going to play that far over, we're gonna go behind you some to try to get
it all the time. A lot of times I just tried to drive it more to the, to the cross court, just to make him reach for it. So
right.
But I think the hip is a good target just as much as the chicken. The chicken wing, the shoulder, the hip. We were watching one of the pro matches, and the player got on the outside hip. He must have missed 4 or 5 shots. So the guy just kept doing it, kept getting it right there, right his hip. And of course, they're so good at hitting that target over and over and over again. But it's the same thing like with the chicken wing. It's awkward getting your paddle in position to be able to block that. And really, it requires you to move your body out of the way in order to successfully block that and hit it back over. So I definitely agree with the hip target.
That's a good point, Vicki. You think about it. You're normally playing against two right-handed players. Normally, not all the time, but most of the time. So if you're looking at two right-handed players across from you, and you drive at the left-handed player at his hip, not only are you driving the middle, but you're also going at his hip trying to catch him in that chicken wing area.
Mm-hmm.
If the other player, the other right-handed player, is going to try to help out, you're at least making them step over and possibly get off balance without a good response or a soft response. So that little area in there can be a really good spot to go to.
I agree.
If I have a good serve, a good deep serve that kind of pulls the opponent kind of off of their stance, which may cause them to be kind of late at getting to the kitchen line, to me, that is a drive shot 100% of the time, especially to their feet. If I can get the ball back before they can even get past the transition area, then I'm driving the ball almost 100% of the time, and hopefully I'm hitting it to their feet.
Now, this is an area, Ken, and I'm so glad you just said that. At high level play and at the pro level, if you watch, they're going to return and get to that non-volley zone line most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But at our level and below us, that is something that people really need to watch for, because it can be a point factory for your team. If you will watch when your team is serving, watch the body language of the person that's returning that ball. If you put them in neutral, or if you get them to take a step back because they're in too tight, the ball has got to go back in front of them. And I don't care how you get it there. It can be a strong return at their feet. It can be a medium pace block that bounces in front of them. Both players of the serving team need to see that immediately. Okay. And when I see that, if it's our strategy to make sure and get the ball back there, then even if I'm not hitting the ball, I know, hey, we've talked about this. This is our strategy. That person is going to be late getting to the line. I'm going to go ahead and take off. And immediately, if that's your strategy, you and your partner are going to have the net versus one person at the net on the other side. That's advantage you, and you're going to win a ton of points like that. I've been sharing that with a lot of people. It's an easy way at the 4-0 level and below to win points if you're looking for it. If you're not looking for it, then you go to the person that's at the net. They're established. They're ready to play ball. So you don't want to go to them. You want to try to get it past them. Something really to look forward to. If you add it into your strategy, you will win a lot of points like that.
And I think at the pro level, you're finding more and more aggressive serving. We watched the Las Vegas tournament over and over again, and Pickleball is, he is, the way he stands up on that one leg and he gets so much topspin on it that, they're considering, this is another topic, but they're considering shrinking the service box down because of the aggressiveness of some of these players. And his serves are hard to return at the pro level and get back up to that no volley zone at times. I'm not saying every one of his serves are hard to return.
Yeah, but he's downhill at him for sure.
Pardon me?
It looks like he's going downhill at him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Very intimidating.
And he's one of the hardest servers, at least from what I've seen.
There's no doubt.
But to your point, yeah, if you can get a good topspin serve or just get them off, off their stance in a way that they're a little unsure about their return or unsteady, then you've kind of got an opportunity right there to get it back to that the partner that was returning the serve, and catch them in in that transition area, whether it's a drive, something to get the ball to their feet.
For sure. Yeah, that's the best example at the pro level of what we just talked about. I mean, he is, and sometimes in some of those venues, so we've talked about that strategy on the third, but the way to try to counteract that is to get back as far back as you can get. But in some of these venues, if you look at the pros, man, their butt is almost touching the back wall. If that back wall wasn't there, guess what? They'd be back even further.
No doubt.
You know,
Yeah,
but sometimes on certain courts, you can't get back far
that's
enough.
exactly right. Las Vegas was an example of that. It looked like they just didn't have the room. And
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't make sense. They're in a convention center. You know, why was there a restriction on it? I'd be interested to find out how many feet they actually had. But it did look like it was a bit tight.
I bet you they'll have that rectified last year, because it was made mention a lot in the broadcast by the commentators.
Mm-hmm.
And you could even tell sometimes the players were like, man, I can get to that. I just have no room to work with here.
That's right.
So to help our players out there that are watching us, again, the way to counteract those things is to get back. Get back. I see so many players standing on the line. And I guess what happens is they get in games with weaker competition, and they can't really, the balls are not being returned deep consistently. But my suggestion is, when I walk out on the court, I try to kind of gauge, all right, who am I playing against here? What are their returns like? What are their serves like? No disrespect, but if I feel like it's weaker players, I may stand at the line or just maybe a little bit behind the line. But, buddy, when I get in those higher level games against people with strong serves, strong returns, I'm back at least 3 to 5 feet, if not further. Yep. So that's just something to kind of, remind yourself of, where you're not getting beat with cheap points because of poor court positioning.
Right. And they need to think that this does not mean that you're that much further away from getting to that no volley line that you can't get there. Again, here's another big lesson learned as far as pressuring yourself too, is that, if you don't make it there on the first try, it doesn't mean you're done. You just play smart, reset. Don't drive from the no transition zone. Try to play it so that you can work you and your partner back up to that line, but be patient. And that's one of the toughest things. And I know for all of us tennis players, we were all trained from a very early time to just rush that net. So it's kind of hard to pull back on that. But again, you take that step back. Take it one step at a time in the point. And like I say, just be patient about getting there, and you'll get there.
Well, it's always easier to hit the ball if you're moving forward, if your momentum is going forward. I'm not saying you have to be moving forward when you hit it, but if your momentum is putting you there, it's always easier to me to hit the ball, no matter where it's at, than if you have to back up to try to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right, Bud. 2 really good things happen on return of serve and on your thirds if you'll stay back. Yep. The first really good thing is you're moving forward into the ball. You're trying to move up to the line anyway, so you want your momentum to be moving forward. The second thing is your shot quality goes dramatically up when you're behind that ball moving into it versus being put in neutral or hitting off a 1 foot falling back. Your shot quality goes way down. So it just makes sense on a lot of different levels to get back and move forward. Every once in a while when I'm coaching people, when I'm telling them to get back, they'll say, well, what about that ball that they barely hit up front? Well, that's going to happen every now and then, But to me, the benefits far outweigh you not being able to get to that ball up there every once in a while. And honestly, like on a third, if they miss hit and a ball's up front, if you can get to it, that's an invitation for you and your partner to come to the net. You know, a lot of times we see one person running for that short ball on the third, but really the off person that's not hitting the ball should be running also.
Right with them.
Right with them, or maybe one step behind them to get on up there, because hopefully when they get to it, they're going to go soft with it somewhere. And hey, it was a struggle to get there, but we got to the net, which was the point of the serving team anyway in hitting our third. To me, the other team is helping you get there by hitting that short shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to burn you every once in a while. You're not going to be able to get to it. But I think the positives far outweigh the negatives there when you have that particular conversation. So that's our discussion today on third shot strategies. I think the main thing, and what we said this in the beginning, and I'll reiterate it again. I think the main thing is have a third shot strategy, depending on who you're playing with. Don't just go into especially a tournament without having discussed, hey, what are we going to do? And like we always say, look, people out there, y'all have all different type skill sets. Figure out what works best for your skill set and what works for the player that you're playing with, and try to have a general strategy of what you're going to do with your thirds. And even with some of the fifths, but especially the third. We always talk about the third. It's such an important shot that's coming in just about every point. So what we would decide to do there, and me and my partner being on the same thing with what we're doing with our thirds, I think can go a long way to helping you win games. So hopefully some of the discussion we had today will trigger some thoughts in some people's minds to figure that out. And hopefully it'll help you along in your pickleball journey. So back to you, Bud.
All right, Jeff, thanks. That was a great discussion, crew. Really enjoyed that one. Some thought-provoking ideas there. And now, as always, it's time for Jeff and his Burr Under My Saddle.
You're Burr under my saddle. You're a thorn sticking in my side.
All right, people. Bud had asked me if I had a burr under my saddle this week, and I didn't really have a new one, but I got an old one. People, I've got to go back to this. y'all are gonna know what I'm talking about as soon as I get into this. These people that the ball's down on the ground, the point's ended. They're walking up there. They just kind of bat it like a cat with a play toy, and wherever it goes, it goes. Reach down, grab the ball, and toss it to the other team, and stop batting it around. A lot of times they're batting it around because they made a bad play. Well, we're sorry that you made a bad play, but we don't want to be punished and have to go chase the ball down wherever you bat it to, because you're in a bad mood because you just made a bad play. To me, it's not only aggravating, it's bad etiquette, because we can all reach down and grab the ball. So to me, when somebody does that to me all the time, it's like, okay, so you're already reaching down there to bat it, but you want to make me reach down and grab it. I usually grab the ball and I kind of hit it where it takes one or two bounces, and then it's at the other team. Sometimes it goes astray. I don't know. Y'all throw in here. Does that bother y'all, or is it just a burr under my saddle?
I'm with you, Jeff.
Okay, all right. I appreciate it, Bud. But Bud, like I always say, you know how I always say at the end of these, you want to bat the ball around? I'm gonna go chase that son of a gun under the bleachers, and I'll get it while you cool off because you made a bad shot, and then I'll prepare to serve the ball, and I will go on. I'll still play with you. All right, that's this week's burr under my saddle.
All right, Jeff. That's another good one. A repeat, but still very, very relevant.
Yeah.
And And now,
Hey, bud, I've got a shout out. Okay, I'm hoping I won't get in trouble for this one. No, it's a bit personal, and I hope it just doesn't come across as being very biased. But my shout out today, and if I make it through, hey, is to my hubby Ken.
oh,
Well, I have just watched you go through so much, and I cannot tell you how strong and resilient and determined is a big word in our house, you have been, and you have challenged yourself throughout your recovery. You've been called a number of things and an overachiever many times. You are, though, I think probably the most determined person I know, and that is for yourself, and that you challenge yourself every day to get better and better and better. And I just wanted to say that you're an inspiration to many, and including myself. And you get me into trouble sometimes. I had no idea I'd be playing pickleball and walking 12 and 13 miles in the middle of the week. But I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I'm along for the ride with you. And there's no doubt in my mind that it's not going to be much longer. You are going to be challenging yourself on the pickleball court, and I cannot wait to see the transition. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Very heartfelt. I appreciate it.
all right. Thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome.
Even though it was just a ingrown hair.
Vicki, Vicki made it through that, and I'm sitting here thinking I'm fixing to cry on camera.
I barely made it through, but okay.
That was really good, Ken. I've been asking, when I can, and I know it's been rough on you, but you have been an inspiration, especially to us seniors, y'all. We're gonna have injuries, and some people aren't gonna. One day we're not gonna come back from one. I mean, that's just the facts. But for you the way you've hit this, man, I hope that I can have the like Vicki said, the resilience to attack this thing like you have. And I don't know what you've been going through because I've never been through that, but it seems that you are really hitting it hard, and that is an inspiration to me. And I know it hadn't been easy either. Me and you were just talking about this today. So you hang in there, big guy.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed not getting beat by you, but I am ready for you to come back and start whooping up on me again.
It's kind of tough when I hear people complaining about I didn't get to play for the weekend because it was raining, or, or I missed a few days and I'm really upset. I've missed 106 days. Not that I'm counting. And I'm nearing 13 weeks since the surgery. And first off, I'm blessed that the surgery went so well. I can't thank Dr. Davis of Paradigm enough for hanging in there with me and making it through, and removing the bad stuff and leaving the good stuff. So, determination has always been my middle name. When I make up my mind for something, I'll do everything possible. So I'm hoping to be back on the court in a few weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I don't know. We'll see. But I look forward to that day. And I'm just blessed that through physical therapy and through all of Vicki's help that, I'm getting close. So I appreciate it.
He'll be back, and it'll be with ninja precision. So look out, you two.
I think, Vicki, I really think, it's yet to be seen, but I think we're fixing to see the best version of Ken win on the pickleball court that we've seen. I agree. I really believe that.
I agree.
because he was doing good stuff playing hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Another person to keep an eye on is Jason Turner. I've been
Mm-hmm.
playing with Jason for a while now, the last year, and he's limping around on the court playing amazing pickleball.
I know,
Had
it's
knee
hurt.
surgery. He had knee surgery last week. It's a 4 to 6 week recovery. Then he's going to see to the bone spurs and his Achilles. And it's kind of like you, Ken. He doesn't. We don't know if he's gonna. You're blessed that you're back and everything's looking good. But Jason's not sure. But I'm telling you, if they can get that man healed up where he can get around the court without hurting for a few
Yeah.
years, I think Jason Turner's going to be even tougher to deal with because he's hellacious now, hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
So I envision that for you, buddy. So I'm excited for you to try to get back out there and see where you're at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with that, hot off the press, it's time for Ken's tournament previews.
All right, thanks, Bud. Let's start with September. September 13th was for the Love of the Y in Baton Rouge. I just got information that the tournament has been canceled. So unfortunately, that won't take place this year. September 20th, 21st is the Laurel MLP in Daphne Park, Laurel, Mississippi. We'll put a flyer, scan the QR code to register. September 21st, 22nd, the Pelican Park Classic, Mandeville, Louisiana. We'll put the URL at the bottom of the screen to register. There's 8 outdoor permanent courts. It's always a great place to play. September 27th through 29th, this is the 3rd annual Bubba Hart Memorial at Graywood Golf and Racket Club in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration closes September 20th. September 27th through 29th is the Canebrake Kitchen Classic at the Canebrake Pickleball, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Also go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. There are registration closes September 22nd. September 27th through 29th is the National Pickleball Daphne Classic at W.O. Lott Park in Daphne, Alabama. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration will close September 23rd. October 4th through 6th is the West Feliciana Pickleball Classic Fall Fling. This will be at the West Feliciana Sportsplex in St. Francisville, Louisiana. We'll put a flyer on the screen. You have to print the flyer and mail it in. There's an address on the flyer of where to mail it. If you have any questions, call David Parker II at 225-245-1892. We'll put the phone number on the screen as well. The same weekend, October 4th through 6th, is the Louisiana Senior Games at Stacks Pickleball, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Go to Pickleball Brackets. Excuse me. We're going to put, it's not on Pickleball Brackets. We're going to put that URL on the screen. It's www.lsog1.org. And this is a qualifying year for Nationals, which will be in Des Moines, Iowa in the summer of 2025. Again, that's the Louisiana Senior Games at Stacks Pickleball. October 11th through 14th is the Ward 19 Battle of the Paddle in Ball, Louisiana, near Shreveport. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. That's a new listing for us. October 19th and 20th is the Mississippi State Championship at Pops Ferry Park, Biloxi, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration closes October 13th. October 25th through 27th, we'll put it again one more time, is the Hollow Wheel Charity Tournament in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Cindy and Tex Morris are running the tournament. This is a big, big fundraiser. We're going to put the URL at the bottom of the screen. Look, the registration is full, but they are going to pull people as somebody needs a partner, but the only way they're pulling them is from the wait list. So you have to get on the wait list to even have a chance to get it in the tournament. November 2nd is the Jones Pickleball Classic at the Jones Tennis Center in Ellsville, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration closes October 27th, and it's $50 per person. Also November 2nd is the Patriot Pickleball Tournament at Coquille Recreational Park in Covington, Louisiana. We have a brand new flyer that has a QR code. We're going to put the new flyer on the screen. Scan the QR code. This is for 3-0 and 3-5 only. It is gender doubles and mixed doubles. November 15th through 17th is the World Pickleball Tour at Breck Greenwood in Baker, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration will close November 10th. Finally, November 16th, 17th is the Swinging for the Stars at Pops Ferry Park in Biloxi, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration for this one closes November 1st. And that's it for tournament preview. Back to you, Bud.
All right, Ken, thanks for those tournament previews. Everybody, get out there, sign up for some tournaments. They're a lot of fun, and it'll really improve your game. And now, if nobody's got anything else, I think it's time to say goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Hey, from the Pickleball crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again and see you next week.